Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome in, boys and girls, to a 1 hour special edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented each and every single afternoon by our friends at the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Wayne Neely sitting in the saddle alongside the one and only Calvin White from up Clarksville Way, holding down the fort up in that direction, and our producer behind the scenes, making all the magic happen, the one and only Mark Rogers. Good afternoon, Calvin. How art thou?
Good afternoon. Merry Christmas Eve. Um, I'm sure we'll get into it, but we talked about it last week. It was like 35 degrees last Tuesday, and I told you it would be, you know, bring out your shorts and your t-shirts around Christmas time. And lo and behold, it might not be sunny, but it is 65 degrees outside.
Yeah, I got my long sleeves on now. I got my Mary Manziel sweatshirt, by the way, in honor of Johnny being in the news recently. But I got my sleeves on now. But earlier, I was joking before the show. I was out working on my tan in the front yard today, Calvin, because it is downright warm. Going to get even warmer next day or two. But I don't know about you, Calvin. I'd like to hear your take on this. But if it's not going to be snowing, if it's not going to be so cold that you just don't want to even do anything except be bundled up in the house, give me what we got, right? I don't want 40 and 50 and kind of just, if it's going to be cold, be freezing cold or snowing, or if it's not, give me 70 degrees. And so I kind of like what we got going on right now.
That's correct. If it's going to be cold, there should at least be a reason for it, and I'm sure, as we always do, in the next month or two, we'll dip back down into the teens and we'll start getting our snow around March. But for the next month or two, if it decides to get really cold again, we'll probably get zero snow and there will be nothing but ice on the road, and you've got to defrost your car for 2 hours before you can go anywhere.
Yeah, never pleasant when that happens, but we will see what Mother Nature has in store for us. Speaking of de-icing, the Colts have thawed out a signal caller at quarterback from a deep freeze the last couple of weeks, and we're going to fill you in on how that reclamation project for the Colts and old man Phillip Rivers has gone, as well as an update or two on the Tennessee Titans. Titans and Pro Bowl. Not exactly something you might have thought you would hear this year, but we'll tell you why those words definitely have some meaning coming up here in just a matter of moments. Abbreviated schedule today. Again, a 1 hour holiday special. This will be our last show of the week, at least a live show of the week. We hope that you guys have a very safe, very festive, and very Merry Christmas and holiday season. Looking forward to being back with you guys on the beginning of next week. So we got our top story coming up in just a minute. We thought about what we should do for the rest of this Tuesday format, Calvin, and as fate would have it, I got a text before I could really even start, spinning my wheels on lining up somebody. And kind of like jolly old St. Nick, he comes right on time every single week. He comes right on time every single year, St. Nick, that is. But Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, he texted me late last night and said, "Hey, are we still on for tomorrow?" And I said, "Well, yes and no." I told him, we're doing this 1 hour holiday special. He said, "Well, sign me up." So in the Christmas spirit is Mr. Walters, and Chip will join us coming up at 2:20 today. We'll talk about a lot of MTSU basketball, some good, some not bad, but could have been very bad. And then some is still to come as they have a busy holiday schedule in addition to the games that they have already played. And then it's not a true top five Tuesday, but we'll close it out in Christmas style and in Christmas spirit. Thanks to our friends at Columbia Power and Water System. We will bring you our top five Tuesday, and we'll bring you our top five favorite Christmas movies, which kind of like your relatives and everything about Christmas, Calvin. There's room for debate. There's some consternation kind of on the Christmas movie list. So looking forward to breaking that down. And do want to specify it's our favorite Christmas movies, not necessarily the best, because like I said, that gets into the realm of debate. Calvin, before we go any further, though, we'll get into the rundown in just a second. What are your holiday plans for the next couple of days?
I'm gonna take the dog and we're gonna go down to my mom and dad's house in Lebanon tomorrow and Thursday. My girlfriend's down in Florida with her family, so spend the next couple of days with my family at their house and then kind of chill out over the weekend. And then next week we get back to the grind.
Back to the grind, no rest for the weary. So we get a couple of days to kind of decompress and certainly hope that you and yours have a very Merry Christmas as well. But it's going to be fun, and we're excited that you guys are with us. Again, we're only here for 1 hour. We're not here for a long time, but we're here for a good time, right? So without any further ado, I suppose we get into it. Let's bring you yesterday's results. So let's bring you today's schedule, and let's do all of that on a thing we like to call the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
And we do start the rundown each and every single afternoon with yesterday's results. Girls high school basketball action to fill you guys in on from yesterday. Cannon, North Carolina, defeating Page 62-53. Cheatham County topping Houston County last night, 70-51. It was Clarksville Academy 64, Clarksville Northeast 29. Innsworth picking up a 61-31 win versus Hillsboro. Grace Christian Franklin defeating Zion Christian yesterday afternoon. 59-39 was that final score. Richland with a nice victory over at Lawrence County, 50-39. Lebanon, we just mentioned the Blue Devils there, Calvin, picking up a 61-52 win over Blackman. Pearl Cones, 57-35 winners over Rockvale last night. Perry County, 53. Santa Fe, 43. It was Sycamore 38, Portland 33. Very low-scoring game there, but Sycamore wins it again by 5 points. Beach 55, Ravenwood 37. Trousdale County was a 58-44 winner over Riverdale yesterday. South Gibson 53-50 over Mount Juliet. And capping your girls' scores from yesterday, Westmoreland picking up a nice victory over Goodpasture 47-36.
Boys basketball action. Beach wins 88-70 over Meade County, Kentucky. Coffee County wins 56-52 over Siegel. It was Friendship Christian 62, Hillsboro 44. Muscle Shoals from Alabama wins 51-44 over Giles County. Marshall County 48-22 winners over Glencliff. Grace Christian Franklin wins 78-31 over Zion Christian. Cheatham County was 44-38 winners over Houston County. Lawrence County wins 67-58 over Richland. Mae Jemison out of Alabama wins 73-62 over Lebanon. Lincoln County 69-56 winners over Pearl Cohen. It was Green Hill 40, Loretto 38. Marion County wins 49-47 over Mount Juliet. It was Perry County 60, Santa Fe 50. Evangel Christian out of Kentucky wins 80-72 over Smyrna, and Liberty Creek wins 81-47 over Whitwell.
Women's college basketball from yesterday. Austin Peay was a 57-47 winner over Loyola Chicago. UT, that's the Lady Vols, defeating Southern Indiana yesterday, 89-44. A game we talked a little bit about on the show yesterday. Kind of went about like we talked or forecasted that it would yesterday. The Thunder defeat the Grizzlies in NBA action last night, 119-103. More on this game in a moment, but the San Francisco 49ers ended up winning on Monday Night Football, 48-27 was your final versus the Indianapolis Colts. Again, more on that one coming up in just a moment. Let's go into today's schedule now. Some of these games got underway bright and early. We don't have final scores yet, but we do want to make you aware of the teams that were in action. Girls basketball, beginning at 9 a.m., Cannon County and Innsworth were tangling today. At 9:45, William Fleming, that's out of Virginia, was going to meet Page in girls action. Hillsboro and Pearl Cohen were set to tangle at noon. Rockvale and Lebanon will meet at 3 this evening. And at a more traditional start time, if you will, Houston County will be at Clarksville Academy. That game is set to begin at 5:30 p.m.
Tonight's boys basketball schedule, or today's boys basketball schedule, rather. Melrose and Lebanon tipped off at 10:30 this morning. Lebanon hosting that one. Rossville Christian played Houston County at 1 o'clock. Cheatham County traveled over here to Clarksville to play Clarksville Academy. Tip-off is set for 4 o'clock for that one. Hillsboro is hosting the Tennessee Heat at 6 p.m. And Loretto traveled down to Alabama to play at Mae Jemison. In the NHL, the Preds are traveling up to Minnesota to play the Wild. Puck drop for that one is at 7 p.m. on ESPN Plus and Hulu. And in the NBA, the Memphis Grizzlies traveling west over to Utah to play the Jazz. Tip-off for that one is at 8 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, those were your scores. That was your schedule, and that concludes today's rundown.
That brings us into top story action, boys and girls. And reminder, each and every single afternoon, our top story is brought to you by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly over at Neely's Mill in Columbia. Open from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Be sure and check them out for your delicious daily deli lunch options. And they also offer hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Once again, Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill in Columbia, presenting you our top story. And two different top stories because it's a crunched show today. Figured we'd squeeze in both of these here. And one is local, one's kind of on the national stage. Kevin, we just talked about 48-27 was your final last night as the 49ers ended up cruising versus the Colts. But kind of captivating the national spotlight yet again, we saw a decent effort. I think most would agree in the week one or in his first start last week at Seattle for old man Phillip Rivers, rocking the number 17 for the Colts there, back at quarterback at 44 years young and also a legit, as we said, grandfather. But I don't know that anybody really would have thought versus a Bob Saleh coached defense for the 49ers, one of the better units in the league. I know the final score was 48-27, but last night, folks, Rivers, 23 of 35 passing, 277 yards passing, had an interception, but also had two touchdowns, both of them to Alec Pierce, including one to start the game and start the scoring off. For a minute, Calvin, this game was going back and forth, kind of hanging in the balance until it wasn't. San Francisco ultimately ends up running away with it. Their offense really has kind of come to life in the last 3 weeks in particular. And again, 48 points for the 49ers. I don't know that anybody could have ever seen or forecasted Rivers trying to win a shootout versus a team, but darn it if he didn't try. Again, 277 yards passing and two touchdowns. The story kind of coming out of this, especially from some of the Colts players, coaches, and staff, was the defense kind of let us down, and the team kind of feel like they let Rivers down a little bit because you can't really have ever expected this type of performance from the old man last night.
Yeah, that's a good performance for a good chunk of quarterbacks in the NFL, much less a 44-year-old who came out of retirement 2 weeks ago after 5 years. But, Phillip Rivers was good. Brock Purdy was just better. And, Jonathan Taylor didn't have a very good game for the Colts. Ran for less than 50 yards. And, the 49ers outscored them, 24-10 in the second half, after it was a close game in the first half. But, the Colts have just taken a nosedive over, the last 3 or 4 weeks. First 4 or 5 weeks of the season, people were talking about the Colts as, a dark horse Super Bowl contender. And now we're talking about the Colts like they might miss the playoffs, especially since after the Jags and the Texans have gone on a heater over the last, 5-6 weeks. But, Phillip Rivers was impressive. But Brock Purdy and the Niners have just been, on a tear over the last couple of weeks. And, Phillip Rivers is taking over the national stage. I'm just not sure he's doing it for a team that's going to play in the postseason at this point.
Yeah, and when you pull up the kind of playoff probabilities, the Colts are technically still alive, but they're below the Ravens, who are also on the outside looking in at the moment in that 7-team bracket going forward out of the AFC. And when your chances are 2%, that not only indicates you have to win out, but you also need a lot of help. And I'm not even going to attempt to decipher the number of scenarios that the Colts would need. But one man's trash, another man's treasure type situation. That was a good result for some teams that are on the fringe, or at least toward the bottom of the standings right now. The Bills, Chargers, and Texans in particular all were kind of clicking their heels when they saw that result last night. The Bills and the Chargers for sure, as they are both now locks to make the playoffs. I mentioned that Baltimore is still circling. They're around a 7% chance. Their real only hope or shot to make the playoffs at this point is hoping that the Steelers kind of crash and burn in that AFC North division. So really, everything kind of played itself into form last night. Broncos, Pats, Jags, Steelers, Bills, Chargers, Texans. And again, barring a miraculous result for the Ravens in the North, and then barring a crazy scenario for the Colts, we seemingly have our teams now finalized in the AFC. And real quick, before we switch gears to some Titans news, Calvin, you mentioned Purdy. Yeah, I mean, 5 touchdowns last night for Brock. And, a lot of them were shorter, but they were efficient passes. He finished 25 of 34, just under 300 yards at 295, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. Kittle leads all receivers last night with 115 yards on 7 grabs. He did have a nice touchdown. Our local boy, Jawan Jennings, had a nice game, 5 grabs for 71 and a TD. Christian McCaffrey, kind of not surprised. He kind of has these odd stat lines every now and again. 6 catches and 29 yards, but 2 of them were touchdowns. He did finish with 117 yards on the ground, though. And I saw a stat late in the game, Calvin. The 49ers, in their last 19 drives, they've produced points on 17 of their last 19 drives. They haven't punted or they haven't turned it over in really, multiple game plus type situations here. They're on a tear, and we mentioned it last week because of the victory by the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football to kind of kickstart a wild and wacky Week 16 in the NFL. The 49ers are not just alive in the playoff hunt, they're alive to win the NFC West, which would therefore probably win them the entire NFC and get that coveted home field advantage and bye that comes with it. 49ers look good. The Colts did not, and the Colts are on life support, to your point.
Yeah, and when you can play offense that well, especially at this time of the year, that's always a good recipe to make a run, putting a bunch of points up. And, like you mentioned, the NFC West is just a gauntlet. I think Rams, 49ers, Seahawks are all sitting there with, 8, 9, 10 wins. And, like you mentioned, whoever wins that division is probably going to lock up the number 1 seed out there in the NFC. And, it's a really tough year to make the playoffs in the NFC, like we talked about, I think, a week or 2 ago. And this is kind of a side point, but what would you look at the Carolina Panthers out there leading the NFC South?
Man, I don't want to I'm hesitant to bring this stat up because I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. But I heard this on a different podcast earlier this week. The NFC West, the combined point differential of the entire division, all 4 teams, is something like plus 300 or just comically high, right? Whereas the combined, I'm looking at the point differential for all 4 NFC South teams. Every single one of them is in the red by at least 30. The Bucks have the best at a minus 30 point differential. So the gap between the NFC West and the NFC South is seemingly as large as there is in football, and that's on one side of the bracket. Real quickly, before we go, we teased it a minute ago. Didn't necessarily think we would mention the words Pro Bowl and Titans in the same breath at any point this season. But yes, lo and behold, not only do we have one Titan, who I think a lot of folks, have, if you've been watching any sort of Titans football over the last 10 weeks, you probably have a feeling that Jeff Simmons was undoubtedly he's going to make a push maybe to be an all-pro selection there. But how about the nice tip of the cap too? A return specialist selection for Jim DK, who I don't know how the voting went down, Calvin, but I'd be hard-pressed to have really cast a ballot for anybody else. This has been a dynamite find in the return game for the Titans, both punt returns and kickoff returns. Throw in a little extra stuff with his receiving abilities there. But Jim DK and Jeff Simmons will represent the Titans at the Pro Bowl. Who says, the Titans don't have some talent? I got at least 2 selections out of this year in a bad season.
Hey, that's the only bowl those 2 are going to be playing in this year. But when I got the ESPN notification yesterday, ESPN likes to be mysterious with their headlines. It said 2 Titans make the Pro Bowl. These are the 2 that I assumed it would be. Early on in the year, they were talking about Jeffrey Simmons might be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. And I'm not so sure he is anymore. But like you said, he's making a push to be an All-Pro. He's been a really good player this year. And Jim DK, he leads the league in all-purpose yards, I'm pretty sure. But when you field as many punts and kickoffs as that guy does, you got to rack up some yards. But hat tip to both of those 2, especially after the way Jeff Simmons had played. The last 1 or 2 years, people were kind of out the door on Jeff. If he was a true game changer or not.
Mm-hmm.
he's kind of flipped the script a little bit this year. He's been by far the best defensive player on the team, and Jim Dike has been one of the other few bright spots on a team that hasn't had that many bright moments this year.
Absolutely, and we could do a whole nother show on Simmons, and was he really, really trying to produce this one magical season to maybe get out of town? Whether via trade or free agency in some capacity. But after his comments, when we talked to Taylor Zarzour yesterday, he wants to be here and he wants to kind of be the leader in the clubhouse going forward. So that is cool to see after, again, one of his best seasons, if not his best season as a pro. So cool honors for 2 Titans there. Jim Dike will be your return specialist, and Jeff Simmons will be your interior lineman, as it is officially listed there. So kudos to both of those guys. Calvin and I are going to take a quick time out. When we come back, it is Tuesday, maybe not in our exact time slot, but as we said earlier, kind of like Santa Claus coming on Christmas Eve every year. If it's a Tuesday on this show, we're going to try and catch up with our good friend Chip Walters, the MTSU Blade Raider voice, and we will do just that on the other side of this timeout. You're watching a 1-hour holiday special of Main Street Sports Today, and it's presented, as always, by TOA of Columbia.
This holiday season, the largest lantern festival in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. Experience more than 1,000 all-new handcrafted lanterns, towering creatures, magical worlds, and a North Pole village. At the center of it all, the Smashville Ice Rink. Welcome back to Zoolumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
Busy Bee, yeah, Busy Bee. If you need...
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
833.
Busy Bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy Bee, oh,
Now
Busy
ready,
Bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Columbia Power and Water Systems is dedicated to bringing our customers reliable local service. Whether you're turning on a light switch, your faucet, or streaming on TV, our dedicated team members from here in Murray County work every day to keep you on. If you need us, call us 931-388-4833 or visit cpws.com. CPWS, local service, local support.
Zion Christian Academy at ZionEagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, ZionEagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
Nashville's Nutcracker, presented by Nashville Ballet, returns to TPAC November 29th through December 28th. This holiday season, audiences will journey with Clara and the Nutcracker Prince through Nashville's history and the land of sweets. Tickets on sale at NashvilleBallet.com.
1 hour holiday special on this warm, dare I say? Yeah, warm Tuesday here. Main Street Sports Today, presented as always by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. It is Tuesday. It's not 3 o'clock, but special tip of the cap to our good friend Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, who moved a little mountains, kind of shuffled some presents off to the side, and said, yeah, I'll come join you guys during a special time slot today. So, Chip, thank you and welcome, my friend.
Hey, but look, where am I? I'm in the office. I'm grinding today. Yeah, it's Festivus.
Business as usual on Festivus, right?
It's time for the airing of grievances, and I've got some problems with you guys, right? So,
well, can you pin me?
Oh, you're wiry and you're fast, and so you're quick in a small area. I'd take Calvin on though.
We'll get George's father to come sort that out a little bit later. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's the first Festivus reference that I've had all day from anybody. So I'm kudos to Chip for bringing the goods, and thank you for being here again with us, Chip. And man, where do we start? Because this time last week when you joined us, we were getting ready to hit the gauntlet of basketball. You were in the Murphy Center, as a matter of fact. Kind of bring us up to speed on what transpired with Blue Raider hoops the last couple of days.
Well, since last Tuesday, the women had a game at home against Auburn. Men had their conference opener against Kennesaw. Lady Raiders then went to Wichita State on Saturday, and the men had their final home non-conference game against Cumberland. And Middle went 3-1 in those. The only loss coming, the Lady Raiders dropped a game to Auburn, but Middle got a very dramatic win against Kennesaw State. Had a lot of just huge plays in it, and the Lady Raiders went on the road in a game where, baskets were hard to come by for both teams and played good defense, held off Wichita State by 1. And then, Middle had Cumberland on Sunday, and in just an absolutely perfect slot for a trap game, coming off of your conference opener, knowing that as soon as the game is over, you're going home for Christmas. And, oh, by the way, you've got the number 8 team in the country when you come back. So where was your focus? And Cumberland came in with a really good team. They've got 12 players on their roster from Tennessee, but and they really took it to Middle early, had a 5-point lead at halftime. Tori Alston put together he really injected some energy early in the second half and scored 7 points in 2 minutes to kind of get Middle going, and they won by 15 or so against Cumberland, and which everybody then got to go home for Christmas. But the Kennesaw win was the one that was obviously the most important for the guys. And here you're facing a team that's picked above you in the standings with the preseason conference player of the year, held him to 12 points. He was averaging 20. They were averaging 95, not 6-7. And they were averaging 95, but they were held to 6-7. And as Middle won 68-67. And on the final play of the game, their great guard, Simeon Cottle, had gotten the ball on a rebound on a tip, and the only guy back was Javin Carter, the kid from Alcoa, and he is backpedaling, looking down the barrel of a gun at one of the best scorers in the league, and he is able to get the ball knocked off of himself out of bounds, and Cottle never got a shot off. So that was just a big win right there. And you're going to be in at least a share of first place for a couple of weeks before you start back on January 2nd. But with all of that went on the women's side, Blair Bogus named Conference USA Freshman of the Week yet again. Middle has dominated that category with all their terrific freshmen. And Tori Alston named Conference USA Player of the Week. And he is the second Blue Raider to get that this year. So it's they're in a good spot right now. the guys are. The women still a work in progress, and the young players coming along. They were able to cut their turnovers down against Wichita State. They'll have a little road trip here to start the conference season, January 2nd and 5th. And, so it's right now, everybody has gone home. They're getting some mama food, some grandmama food, and they'll be back. Both teams will get back here about the 26th, 27th, right in there. The guys are coming back the 26th. The women may be a day or so later, since they don't have a game until till January 2nd.
Chip, you roll through all those results, and there's a lot of good mixed in there. If we're building our Christmas tree and we got to put the star on top, is the game versus Kennesaw? Is that kind of the real highlight for everybody involved? Do you think?
Oh, over the last 2 weeks, yeah, because it was a conference game.
Yeah,
it's simply because of that. Winning your conference opener against Kennesaw State, again, they were picked second in the league. That would be the star on top of the tree right now.
So then, you mentioned get to go home, get to kind of kick your feet back just a little bit, but then right into the teeth of it. And let's start with the men. We've talked about this game. It seems like since August or, since the summer when it was officially
kind of been looming out there. Yeah.
Been looming, but they got the massive showdown versus Houston, who maybe, I'm going to whisper this, looked a little bit less than maybe we thought earlier in the year, but all of a sudden, poof, in the blink of an eye in the last 2 weeks, they look better than ever.
Who was it they played the other day? Louisville, and just absolutely
Arkansas.
I was Arkansas. I knew it was one of them red teams, and they just destroyed Arkansas. And I was talking to Coach McDevitt. I said they don't even look like they're playing fast. And he goes, and they're blowing by really good athletes at Arkansas. So, I think our guys are looking forward to it. Last year, all the guys who are returning this year from last year's team, they had an opportunity in that last game before Christmas break last year to play the number one team in the country. Mm-hmm. And if you remember, Middle had a 6-point lead in that game and played really well. So I think, that's kind of been one of those things they've been looking at. Who knows? Kelvin Sampson just does such a great job. He's one of the elite coaches in college basketball, and he'll have his team ready. Will they, wonder kind of where we are, who we are, where we're from, that kind of thing? Maybe. But they go out and they do their business day in, day out, night in, night out, and that's why they are what they are. And a team that played in the national championship game a year ago and in the top 20 this year. And it'll be a great, what do you hope comes out of this? You'd love to go down there and sneak one out.
Yeah.
But what you'd also love to do is, if you don't go down there and win the game against a top 10 team, go down there, put good stretches of basketball together and find out what you can do against an elite college team, and then translate that into what you're going to do for the next 8 to 10 weeks in the Conference USA season and into the conference tournament. So, use this to your advantage in the very best way possible. Don't necessarily worry about what the scoreboard says. Go out there and be the best version of your own self and your own team against a really, really good team in Houston.
Chip, talking about women's basketball, lost by double digits at home against Auburn, and then went down there and snuck one out against Wichita State. What kind of happened in that Auburn game for them to drop that one, and then how did they maybe bounce back a little bit to go down there to Wichita and sneak one out?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that was a really good confidence builder for them to get to the break with, and again, it's they've been going through the grinder as well. When you look at their non-conference schedule with Tennessee and Memphis and Auburn, and here Wichita State and Belmont, and you're throwing yourself into that schedule. Providence, Mississippi State, add those in there as well. And, these girls have come out on the other side. And I love Blair Bogus and her, she said the other night on the radio, she goes, we all come from winning programs on this team, and we cannot stand losing. And you know, she goes, I just told the other girls, I'm tired of this. She goes, let's let's get this thing right. And you know, and when you're and I'll use a Derek Mason phrase here, when you're coach fed and player led, you've got something going. And you've got some big personalities in young players like Blair Bogus, Macy Pfeiffer. You know, there's a lot of pressure on them. There's a lot leaning on them. And they're having to drink out of that fire hose right now. And you know, they're not taking as big as steps forward as they probably want to, but they're getting there. And there are going to be some people in Conference USA, they're going to pay the price for that in January, February, and March.
And I love what you just, real quick, I love what you just said, Chip. If I didn't know any better, it almost sounds like Bogus in particular kind of didn't take long to kind of, shall we say, mimic or fall in line with the words that she's getting from her head coach currently at the moment. It feels like she's a chip off the old block in that regard.
You know, and they all parrot their head coach and their associate head coach and because, you know, they all come from programs kind of like what the coach has had and when he was coaching in high school, the kind of program he had. So you know, when you won 493 games, your track record speaks for itself, and your players are going to listen because you obviously know what you're doing, and they're going to, you know, now they're going to hopefully get home, get loved on, and then come back and start the meat grinder that is the Conference USA schedule.
And Chip, you know, they're going into conference play with a losing record. And, you know, Liberty's always really good. Western's always really good. Louisiana Tech always really good. Is this, you know, I don't know how wide your scope is of the whole conference, but, you know, is this a year where women's basketball can still compete, maybe even win the conference, get back to the NCAA tournament?
It wouldn't surprise me at all, simply on strength of schedule, because and coach has talked about it, and here I am parroting the head coach a little bit, is that he has been critical of, you know, how a lot of schools in this in Conference USA go about their non-conference scheduling. You know, Liberty, Western, Middle, Missouri State now, because they're legit. You know, they're 8-5 right now. They have the most wins of anybody in the league right now. But, you know, everybody else, your good teams, you know, UTEP 7-3, and, you know, their strength of schedule is going to be somewhere about 320 or something like that. You know, Middle is going to be battle scarred when the conference race gets here, and everybody's got good athletes. They're all on scholarship. There's a reason for that. But, you know, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Western's 4-7 right now. And, you know, and they're, you know, they're going to be good. Liberty is 6-5. So you're really only one game back from them in the win column. And you're only a couple of wins short of the, you know, what's the top record in your conference right now. And you've played easily the toughest schedule of anybody. And so I you know, that's probably part of the message. And I think you use your experience of what you've gone through in November and December to make you better in January, February, and March.
Talking with Chip Walters, our good friend and MTSU Blue Raider voice. A busy stretch in this holiday run for the Middle men and women's basketball teams. And Chip, you're exactly right. I mean, it's not obviously 1-to-1 with high school basketball, but you see so many coaches kind of gravitate toward a cupcake, shall we say, schedule and, you know, rack up the wins. And there's something to be said for that, and maybe in terms of building confidence for a young team. But towards the end of the season, it always feels like the teams that have challenged themselves in non-conference or non-district and high school standings, kind of those fruits bear out in the postseason and in crunch time when it really kind of truly matters.
Yeah. Yep. And, you know, there's, you know, a lot of ways to skin a cat, but, you know, the way that Rick Insel's gone about it has been, you know, playing, you know, kind of the anybody, anywhere, anytime routine. Middle's men right now, you know, they've had they've got 4 losses, and all 4 losses have come to top 85 teams in the net rankings. And so they've come through with some, with wins over, with you look at the UAB win, the Murray State win, the Kennesaw win. Those are gonna play well for you down the road, right? The only win, the only one non-conference game really that's of Division I status that has not been a top 85 team was Evansville, and you went on the road and you had a 20-point lead with, I don't know, 6-7 minutes to go and held them off at the end on the road. So, this is a good basketball team. It is totally different from last year's team. It's built differently, and every team can say that because that's just the way we are now. You have to rebuild your roster every year, and you don't really build a program anymore. You build a series of teams over years, and this one has just a different personality about them. It's kind of guard heavy, and we'll see how that serves them as they move forward.
Also, final thing for me, at least on women's basketball, I want to mention it's one thing to schedule tough teams and really, go through a murderer's row when you have a pretty talented squad in yourself. But it says a lot about the program in general rather than just, a year-to-year roster makeup if Coach Insel is still going to put this kind of schedule forth, knowing kind of probably coming into the season, this may not be the most experienced roster that he certainly has had.
Probably exactly right. Exactly right. That's just the way they go about scheduling, because you just can't take a year off from it when you've got a young team, because you've got a lot of stuff that's scheduled over time, and they'll play Tennessee again next year in Knoxville, and who knows who else is going to be on the schedule. Hey, before we go, I heard you guys talking about DK and Jeff Simmons making the Pro Bowl. How about Kevin Byard, Blue Raider, Chicago Bear, Pro Bowl yet again?
We withheld, part of me wants to say we withheld that on purpose so you could drop the news. The other part was we were just focused on the Titans. But yes, he has had one. A lot of folks, were kind of curious.
Thought he was done.
Philadelphia, and then Chicago. Serviceable, but maybe not at that level. So yeah, absolutely, he has had one heck of a season, kind of a resurgence in that regard.
Yeah, leads the NFL in interceptions, and they just had a Festivus miracle on their last game, winning in overtime. So, good for KB, winning the Hall of Fame at Middle this year, and leads the league in interceptions. Coincidence? Who knows? Who knows?
Hard to say.
Some might say.
Yeah, some might say. You're exactly right, Calvin. Talking with our good friend, the Blue Raider voice, MTSU's Chip Walters. Chip, before we get out of here, we got to ask you simply, what are the holidays, or what will the next 48 hours look like for Chip Walters?
Much different than it did 20 years ago. And I think everybody who's watching, listening today, yourselves, if you haven't gone through it, you will. As your parents age, and in my case, both have passed away, that changes the dynamic at Christmas. Your siblings get older, marry off, have their own things. It changes. It's much more low key than it used to be. I promise you that, because it used to be at about 6 a.m. on Christmas morning with me and my sisters. But now it's don't set the alarm, get up, have some coffee, and then we'll have, on my dad's side of the family, we have Christmas lunch, and then just kind of work with the siblings on, okay, when are y'all available to kind of sit down and let's visit with each other and exchange a few gifts and that kind of thing. But Christmas Eve is going to be very low key tomorrow, and then Christmas Day, it's going to be just kind of a day of rest and reflection, and be thankful for friends and family.
Couldn't have said it any better myself, and you're right. The dynamics change, and so sometimes
sure
the best
does.
thing is not to force, the rigors of the schedule. That's the way we approach it. Just loosey goosey. Show up when you can get here, and if you can't, oh well, we'll see you next year.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
or we'll see you Saturday. I know, like I've got some cousins and my sister and a niece who I'm trying to coordinate a run through Muletown on Saturday to kind of visit with all of them. So it's just work it out as we can work it out. And a lot of times they're working around my travel schedule too. So I appreciate them for being flexible with all that.
Absolutely. And Chip, we're getting ready to close out the show with Top 5 Tuesday. We're going to bring our top 5 favorite Christmas movies. So I simply got to ask you, I didn't hear you mention that Nakatomi Plaza will be in your future.
I was at the Nakatomi Plaza Christmas party last night.
Last night. Okay.
0 out of 10, not recommended. It was a little, kind of had some rough characters there, but that's still the enduring question: is Die Hard a Christmas movie or not? But
one of the great questions of our time. A lot of folks.
But I've got to go with, I'm a Christmas Vacation guy all the way. They asked the men's basketball team this the other day. It was an Instagram deal, and they asked them their favorite, and I never even thought of Friday After Next. And that's all the men's basketball players, love the Fridays movies, and Friday After Next, they about 3 or 4 of them picked that as their favorite Christmas movie. But, I love A Christmas Story. I loved it when TBS used to run it for 24 hours straight during Christmas. So that would always stay on in our house. And, Christmas Vacation has got to be in there, and then just kind of wherever they fit in after that.
Good deal. Does Gremlins qualify for your list?
Not really. That's not my first thought. Is
not necessarily mine either,
it's a holiday movie, but
yeah.
but neither. And then there's that. A lot of women put the movie Love Actually out there. And
it may or may not be on my list, Chip.
Yeah, as a Christmas movie. So there's that, and we'll just everybody. Everybody's list is everybody's list, and this time of year, it's okay. Nobody's list is wrong. Just be on the nice list. Don't be on the naughty list.
I couldn't have said that any better myself. And Chip, that is a perfect way to bid you adieu. Have a very very Merry Christmas, and we will see you on the flip side after the holiday, my friend.
Mele Kalikimaka.
See you soon, Chip. Thank you very much. Caught me off guard with that one right there. We're going to take our final timeout. When we come back, it is Top 5 Tuesday in a sense, and Calvin and I will give you our top 5 favorite Christmas movies. Chip already sprinkled a few Christmas cookie crumbs out for us, but we'll give you the real goods here when we come back. It'll be brought to you by our friends at Columbia Water and Power System Internet as I'm fumbling down the stretch here, Calvin. But we will get to the timeout, and we will get to Top 5 Tuesday right after this here on Main Street Sports Today.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
When I think of Delta Dental now, it's really their core values. It's the volunteerism, it's the giving back.
Delta Dental gives us 10,000 toothbrushes. So twice a year, we have these children that are going home with food that may not have weekend food, and they're also getting a toothbrush.
The best partners are the ones that truly do impact the community together, and I don't think there's a better example of that than our partnership with Delta Dental.
Is your internet slowing you down? It's time for an upgrade. Whether you're at home, working from your home office, or at your business, it's time to unleash the speed you need with speeds up to 1 gig at CPWS for as low as $70 a month. Give us a call, 931-375-7777. Local service, local support, CPWS.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
The holidays bring us together. Gather with loved ones where over 1 million lights shine and celebrate a beloved tradition at Cheekwood's Holiday Lights. Explore the festive mansion decorated by former White House florist Laura Dowling and wander through a magical wonderland of gardens aglow. Get into the spirit of the season at Cheekwood.
Final segment here, 1 hour holiday special edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented each and every single afternoon by our friends at the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Our final live show of the week. Rumor has it we're going to be popping by for a similar endeavor on Monday and Tuesday of next week. So check your schedules. But if we don't see you for between now and the holiday, make sure that you have a very safe and very festive and very merry Christmas and happy holiday season. Alongside Calvin White and our producer Mark Rogers, Wade Needley saying hello. Calvin, we've reached the finale here. Even though it's an hour early, my circadian rhythms are a little bit off. I'm not used to producing a top 5 list at such of an hour, but we'll get through it nonetheless. It is time for Top 5 Tuesday. We're going to close things out by giving you our top 5 Christmas movies. But before we do, I want to remind you that each and every single Tuesday, Top 5 Tuesday is brought to you by our friends at Columbia Power and Water System Internet. Are you tired of buffering and slow internet speeds? Well, then upgrade your life with Columbia Power and Water System Internet, where you can get lightning fast speeds up to an incredible 1 gig. You can stream, game, and work seamlessly. If you're stuck at home for the holidays, sound like you may want to hit up CPWS for your internet needs. You can do all of that, folks, for $70 a month. So if you're looking for local service and local support, visit cpws.com or call 931-375-7777 and tell them your friends at Main Street Sports Today were the ones that sent you. Calvin, if you are, wanting to get some alone time and kind of be by yourself and, maybe want to play and fire up your video game console over the holidays, and you don't have good internet, or if your internet's not up to snuff and you got 2 other streams, people are watching things in your house, that almost sounds like a Christmas nightmare to me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it does. You've got, you get the whole family together for Christmas, and you've got people in 3 or 4 different rooms trying to watch different things, and all of a sudden none of it works, and everybody starts having a crash out because your top 5 favorite Christmas movies are buffering.
Yep, you're not going to be able to see them. Speaking of, here are our top 5 favorite Christmas movies. Calvin, I'm going to let you start us off here as we close out the show this afternoon.
Yeah, but to kick off my list, Chip mentioned it, but National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I think Clark Griswold resembles a lot of us around the holiday season, getting the whole family together, just hectic and crazy, trying to get everybody together under one roof and trying to get your tree set up and your house lights and all of the things. And it's one of those movies that kind of shows us the hectic side of Christmas, trying to get everything together for your family for the holidays.
I'm with you, and it's a shame I didn't wear it, but I have a sequined sweater. Don't ask me how I got a hold of it, but I have a sequined sweater, and my mom has stitched a squirrel onto the back of it in lieu of Christmas Vacation. That's a good list, a good way to start us off here. I'm going to go with this one just because I mentioned it on yesterday's show. But Jingle All the Way, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sinbad, you're going after the Turbo Man. I was at Opry Mills for a little bit yesterday, and it kind of resembled some of the scenes from that movie. Jingle All the Way, not the greatest movie, but it's one of my kind of favorite holiday watches. There are worse ones, I think. So give me Arnold and Sinbad on the quest for the Turbo Man as my first choice there.
Hey, I've never seen that one, and you're a lot better man than I am for taking on Opry Mills 3 days.
It was an in and out job.
3 days before Christmas. It probably took you 20 minutes to park and then get in there.
The parking was longer than the amount of time I spent in the store. That is true.
Bad dog. But my next one, I'm going to go with A Christmas Carol. It's one of those ones that kind of teaches you one, not to be a Scrooge around the holiday season.
Yeah.
And one of those things that just kind of teaches you what Christmas is about, and how much better the holidays are when you're able to, spend it with friends and family that you enjoy being around and that you love.
Couldn't have said that any better. It's very wholesome of you, Calvin. I love that about you. I appreciate that. Up next on my list, if you're going to go wholesome, I'm going to go bad. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to go all the way bad. We're watching this tomorrow night for the in-laws coming over for our Christmas Eve kind of get together. But Bad Santa on the list. Billy Bob, really, what more can you say? If you haven't seen Bad Santa, it's not necessarily your traditional Christmas movie, but it is a Christmas movie. That's really all you can say about it. It's one of my favorites, and we'll be watching that tomorrow night here at the Neely household. So Bad Santa is my number 2 selection.
Yeah, good one to put on the list to, break up all the wholesome holiday movies that you can put out there. But my number 3, I'd imagine we both have this on here. But I'm going to get to it first. I'm going to go Elf. It's just one of those ones, Will Ferrell, it's iconic. It's one of those ones that, I feel like it's mentioned on just about everybody's list of favorite Christmas movies. It's one of those ones that has, stood the test of time over the last, almost 20 years.
Yeah, hard not to go with Buddy the Elf. I didn't get to go see it, but the Nashville Symphony performed that one not too long ago, and I hate I had to miss it because you can never go wrong with Buddy the Elf, and rest in peace to Bob Newhart. Great cameo in that one there. Good pull. And yes, undoubtedly on my list. Up next, I'm kind of freestyling here based off a few that you've already picked, so I want to share some love to some other ones. This I am revolted to see because I'm a big Rotten Tomatoes snob. I cannot believe that I like this movie considering the score is 5%. But Christmas with the Cranks with Tim Allen, that is not the greatest Christmas movie you've ever seen with Jamie Lee Curtis, playing Nora. But I like Luther and Nora. Christmas with the Cranks, even though it has a 5% Rotten Tomatoes score, is one of my favorite Christmas movies. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, I've never seen that one either, but it always feels like you can never, go off the Rotten Tomatoes score. I think they're jipping those results. But my number 2, we were big Polar Express people in my house growing up. That was my mom's favorite Christmas movie, so that's one we always grew up watching. Another one of those ones that, kind of teaches you what the meaning of Christmas is all about. And, even though it is a cartoon, it's always one of those good ones to put on around Christmas.
Yep, that is a good pull. And Polar Express, I've only seen bits and pieces. I haven't seen the full movie in its entirety. Maybe this will be the year that we do that. Up next on my list, Chip mentioned it a moment ago. Yeah, Love Actually is on my list. 2003 movie. Hugh Grant. You got Liam Neeson. You got Alan Rickman, rest in peace. I mean, it is a good Christmas movie in my family rotation. So give me Love Actually for my next to last pick. Final one quickly for you here.
Hot take, I'm going to go the 1966 How the Grinch Stole Christmas, even though Jim Carrey's, both of them came out before I was born, but the cartoon one was the one I grew up on, so I'll go with that one.
Yeah, that one's good, and the wife does not like that one, but I'm old school. Give me that one all day long. Last on my list, how could I not do it? Die Hard. The ultimate debate, is it or is it not a Christmas movie? But I mean, hey, it's a Christmas party and it's set around Christmas. There's guns and violence and, kidnappings and things of that nature, but give me Die Hard. It's still a good one and always one that we enjoy around this time of the year. That will be our final live hit of the week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Main Street Sports today. We've had a great 1-hour show. We look forward to rejoining you live next week. Everybody, from the bottom of our hearts, have a very Merry Christmas. We'll see you next time, folks.